Just waiting a second so that everybody's in. Okay, thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm here with Caroline Makumbe and Jennifer Kaberi. Both of them are co-founders of Kutunga, a very, very interesting organization that that is actually teaching. They're going to tell you about it. Teaching developers to know kids, which is so important. And Jennifer is also CEO of Total News, an organization in Kenya that actually works quite a bit with children. So without further ado, I'll pass on to you because I'm very much looking forward to what you're going to tell us.
Oh, thank you very much, Angeline, and for the introductions. As mentioned, my name is Caroline Makumbe, and yeah, I'll just hand over to Jennifer to also introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Kaberi. I am co-founder Kutunga, and we are going to take you through this session together. Thank you.
Cool. I just want to start with, so I'm going to start off just by introducing what Kutunga is and what exactly we do. And then Jennifer is going to take you more in depth on the work that we've been doing in the past year. So Kutunga is quite new. We started in January 2025, so we're just over a year old. So I just want to start with something a little bit different. I'm just going to ask everyone to just indulge me. Just close your eyes. If she has friends around her and they're playing with a kite that they've just and plastic. Around her are some boys playing with some toys that they've just made, cars, balls. They're playing football around them. Now, I want you to picture yourself that you see when you look back into your childhood. Now, fast forward to 2026. How has childhood playgrounds changed? For those with children, how do your children play? Where do they play? Who do they play with? How do they play? How has it changed from when you grew up? You can open your eyes now. So, if we think back to our own childhood, many of us remember a playground, a physical playground. It was a place where we learned how to make friends, where we fell and we got up again, where we learned how to ride bicycles, where we discovered who we were. And the playground helped shape our confidence, our imagination, and our sense of belonging. But today, much of that playground has moved online. Children are now growing up in digital playgrounds. Influence how they think about themselves and how they view the world, their worldviews. The challenge is that many of these spaces were never designed with children's developmental needs in mind. Instead, they are shaped by engagement metrics, behavioral designs, commercial incentives, reinforce harmful risks that they are not developmentally ready to navigate. Additionally, when we look at the Digital Thriving Playbook, it emphasizes that every age group learns and plays differently, which is why design needs to be age appropriate. Very young children, if you are like me and have young children, very young children between the ages of 0 and 9 years need very simple visual interfaces and plenty of guidance. Whereas now, as they grow up to become twins, 10 to 12-year-olds, they begin thinking abstractly and crave peer approval. Then you move on to your teens, 13 to 17-year-olds who grapple with identity crisis, autonomy, and body image concerns. This is why at Kutunga, we believe the solution does not begin only with regulation after harms occur. It begins much earlier with the people who design and build the systems themselves. Because every line of code, every algorithm, and every interface choice shapes the environments that children grow up in. And that is why the work that we're doing at Kutunga, working directly with technologists, your software engineers, your designers, your developers, your creators, your innovators, your moderators, equipping them with the tools to design technologies that are child-centered, that take into account the different evolving stages of children, that take into account their cultural context, their language, and are ethically responsible. Last year, we trained our first cohort of 12 technologists from Kenya. Now, you could say this was a small group, and yes, it was. But the ripple effect that we are seeing has been powerful. Most of these organizations involved have already begun embedding child-centered principles into their platforms, changing how their systems interact with children and how young users experience those environments in Kenya. And this is only the beginning. This year, we're expanding significantly into South Africa, Rwanda,
Caroline, we can't hear you.
Do you think you can jump in?
covers theoretical frameworks of child.
Caroline, your internet is breaking up. Do you think you can step in a little bit, Jennifer?
Yeah, I seem to have been kicked off, and I'm not sure where.
Caroline, you stopped at the ripple effect, like giving examples of the organizations that you have worked with
Yes.
that have seen us change.
Okay, all righty. So I was basically talking about the cohort one that we trained in Kenya last year and how we're seeing the ripple effect with the organizations that they work for and how they're applying the knowledge that they've learned at Kutunga into their platforms, changing how their systems interact with children and how young users experience those environments. And in this year, we're expanding into South Africa, Nigeria, Rwanda, and Zimbabwe. And our goal really is to train 1,500 technologists and ultimately empower a community of over 50,000 designers and developers who can build safer, healthier digital ecosystems for children across industries. And here, participants learn how childhood development works, how to apply privacy and security, and how to apply safety by design into practice. For instance, our curriculum covers theoretical frameworks of child development, child-centered design, cultural sensitivity, emerging risks in AI, and even self-care and mental well-being. And one other thing that I also wanted to mention was that we also recognize as Kutunga that children's digital by one sector alone. They are shaped by edtech platforms, fintech systems, gaming environments, systems, and digital advertising ecosystems. And each of these industries influences how children learn, how they spend, how they express themselves, and how they develop their sense of identity and self-worth. And if we want to truly reduce harm, we believe both direct and indirect, we must strengthen the entire innovation ecosystem. And this is the work that we are doing at Kutunga. And also, just lastly, in terms of our work, is we are also launching a sandbox platform where technologists can develop prototypes that respond to real world challenges. Jennifer, I'm not sure if we've lost Angeline. Okay, all righty.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
here.
so
Yeah.
okay, so we are also launching our sandbox where technologists can develop prototypes that respond to real world challenges facing children in digital environments. And then lastly, because we also realized during our training of cohort 1 that we cannot leave the developers themselves and the stuff that they go through. So we are introducing a focus, we're actually introducing a mental well-being hashtag Kutunga Cares within the tech ecosystem, because we recognize that developers and designers themselves often work under intense pressure while grappling with the ethical implications of the technologies that they create. And also through our Kutunga training, create
Yeah, it looks like we've lost you again, Caroline. We can't hear you.
Caroline, are you there?
But if I can, yeah, I'll just ask you, Jennifer, while we're waiting for
Okay, she's
Caroline.
told me. Yeah.
Yeah, she has some
Okay, she's told
trouble.
me she's in trouble. She's just sent me a message. So based on our work last year, we realized as much as we in Africa want to be part of the global movement, it's not doable because our realities, our lived experiences, our culture, our contents does not allow that. So based on that, we have developed a working document, a white paper that is going to lead up to developing safety by design standards for Africa. So if you're designing for Africa, these are the key standards that you need to think about. So we have I'll just go through the principles. We have 14 principles of that. And then if you out there and you're listening to this right now or later on, and you'd want to get included, do write to us, info@kutunga.org, and you want to be included in this process, that will be because we are going to be revealing the principles in RightsCon in May. in Zambia, and also we're having a conference, our own conference in October in Kigali. We're going to bring designers across the world who are designing for Africa. So you don't have to be African necessarily, but if you're designing for Africa or your products are targeting African children, that will be, and I'm thinking in extent Africa in diaspora. So if you are targeting African, these are the ones. So I'm just going to go through these principles very quickly. Just give me a minute. I'm just having phone issues this morning. Just give me a minute. I'm just having phone issues. My computer has refused to wake up and everything. So we have 14 principles that are guiding they are guiding our work around designing for children. And this we do not, this our framework, the framework that we are developing does not mean to replace what is already existing. It's just building up and saying, okay, you guys are doing this, but we have noted a gap. When you're designing for children, for Africa, we are not designing for African children. So just give me a minute. I'm using my phone, so it's a bit. So we have 14 principles, and I'm just going to go through them. I'm not going to go into details. And as I said, we are not replacing any framework that is out there. There are amazing frameworks that are out there. But what you are saying, if you're going to design for children, here is another layer of consideration that you need to do when you're designing for children. So number one is best interest of the child. I think we already have agreed on that. The principle best interest of the principle of best interest of the child is paramount in terms of what, and best interest of the child when you're coming to think of African children, it's kind of different in terms of what are their lived experiences, what are their realities, what are the culture. For example, best interest of a child in living in Kakuma refugee camp can be a bit different from best interest of the child of a child living in Nairobi or in Johannesburg. Okay, so what are we doing this? So every product decision, from feature prioritization or algorithmic tuning to business models, must be evaluated against the best interest of the child as a primary consideration. Or in the advertisement, in the marketing bit, it must be considered as a paramount consideration. And then principle number 2 is safety as a structure, not a feature. Because what we have right now, safety is an afterthought. When a child gets harmed, that's when we start thinking, oh, what do we do? What do we do? Okay, instead of thinking of it, like, what are the features I should put in my product before it goes live, before it goes live? What are the principles what are the features should I make sure that I'm safeguarding these children? So it's not a feature. It's not those 3 dots on top of your feed. No, it is part of the architecture of that platform. And then principle number 3, children are right holders and not passive users. Because right now, as the products that we have right now, children are just their users. They are the ones who are consuming the content. They're the ones who are posting. But the children are not considered as actually the builders of these products. So for us, one of the principles in the framework is that children should not be seen as passive users. Okay, they are right holders who can ask questions and can interrogate and be able to ask for change of those products. Okay, and what industry should do is ask them before they start building products. They should ask children, what products do you want? What type of features do you want? Do you think this product is good? These questions need to be asked to children before they're doing. So it's a whole, we are going to be releasing this white paper towards the end of April. Evolving capacity. And I think Caroline has covered this very, very well. A 2-year-old and a 17-year-old is not the same. Okay, and in the cases of social media, a 13-year-old and a 17-year-old is not the same, or a 9-year-old if you're on Roblox and a 12-year-old is not the same. So how do we ensure that we are taking consideration of evolving capacity in terms of age? Okay, and we're talking about evolving capacity. Think about where these children are coming from, because evolving capacity is the developmental stage, structure and brain development, social development, emotional development, cognitive development of this child. Okay, and evolving of the child is informed by many things. Okay, for example, their culture, the nature, okay, and their exposure. For example, a child in a rural area is not the same as a child in a public in a urban area. How they have been exposed to life makes their evolving capacity different. Okay, so you find an 11-year-old living in an urban center, because of the way they have been nurtured, is very, very different from a child who is living in a rural areas. The understanding of life, their understanding of the world is very, very different. So their evolving capacity is different. So we should not measure it the same. Okay, I'll give you an example. We are just finalizing a report that we have done on digital literacy as Mtoto News. And we are working with children between 9 and 17-year-olds. And we did this research on digital literacy, and we were asking questions to children. Some of these children have never seen Zoom. Yes, you may think Zoom is basic. It's who does not have seen. But the children at the age of 13, 14, they have never seen Zoom in their lifetime. Okay, this is the first time they were interacting during our training and our research. Is the first time they're interacting with Zoom. Okay, so you cannot be able to talk about protection of a 13-year-old the same. We cannot talk about the protection of the same on the same. Okay, and then access again. Access is an issue in Africa, and access, you're not talking about access to the internet. You're talking about access to digital literacy, attitude access. We're talking about access in very different areas. There are 14 of them, so I need to go very quickly. Language, okay? We all know that there's a huge algorithmic bias, okay, where English, French, Spanish are the big ones, okay? What about Wolof? What about Kisii? What about Zulu? Okay? What about Chichewa? What languages are available for children to be able to access? Because not all of us speak English, not all of us speak French, not all of us speak Spanish. Okay, so what other languages are available to ensure that these children are able? And considering that some of the children are abused because they do not understand the language. Okay, you're told, you say, just click yes. What am I clicking? Yes, and it's not because you just know the word yes. Okay, you click yes, and you have availed all your life to technology. And then data sovereignty. This is big. Like, how are technologists using data from Africa? Okay, are they using it to better the Africa, or are they just using it for the sake of using it? Okay, is it extractive or is it informing? Okay, because what we have seen, a lot of our data is somewhere in San Francisco, and it's not informing our product. This is not informing our well-being. People are just using it to build products. Okay, but those products are not for Africa. Okay, unfortunately. Algorithmic accountability, we need accountability for that. That if you're going to optimize for African children, you have to be accountable and be transparent on how you're using AI for African children. And then we are very communal culture. I am because we are. That's what we are in Africa. My child is your child. So how are we building and designing products that speak to that reality? I'll give you an example. We did in the same research. What we saw a child saying, I am friends with this friend because my friend is their friend. Okay? They do not know the realities that the other friend can be, someone is going to harm them. But because you are my friend, we become friends with the other friend. Okay? Because that's how we are. Okay? You're my auntie, not because you are related, it's because you're friends with my mother, you become my auntie. It doesn't have to be blood relation. So that's how and how are we building those realities in our product? It's not something that can be able to be erased overnight. It's something that is in our DNA. We've been built like that. Okay? Harm prevention and harm response, instead of us running, how can we be able to prevent it before it happens? Okay, and that only goes into our products. Okay, play. Products should encourage play, okay, and expression instead of being passive. Okay, like just consuming. But how do you encourage that the children should have their brain moving, their bodies moving, okay, their emotions, like, you know, how do you encourage development in your product? Okay, and then issues to do with justice. Okay, and then finally, no profit from harm. Okay, so if you're harming a child, you should provide, like, what we are pushing for is the way we have in climate change, where we are having for paying for the harm that has been caused, is the same. For products, if you harm a child using your product, you should pay for it. Don't expect the parent to pay for it. If you are causing a child to be bullied, pay for it. Pay, ensure that this child is well. Pay for their therapy. Okay? Don't expect the parent to pay for their therapy. Unfortunately, we cannot pay for children who have been killed. Okay, but what can you be able to ensure that more children do not die as a result of digital products? And finally, as Caroline said, we are big on the mental well-being of the people building this product, because trauma begets trauma. So most of these people, if you build a product and you're traumatized, or you are not in a mental, you don't have a proper mental well-being, that means that is going to translate in the product that you're going to build. If your brain is not fresh, you'll not be able to think properly, so you're going to code or evaluate a product from a very biased perspective. And because of that one decision that you made when you are not well, it causes more harm. So we are very intentional in taking care of the well-being of everybody. So thank you so much. We're going to be sharing this white paper later on. It's not final. We just felt for this conference we needed to share it. Thank you so much. Back to you, Caroline.
Thanks, Jennifer. I think we're going to hand over to Angeline now.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us.
Yes, this was very, very interesting. You guys are doing great work, and we will, I agree with Caroline in the chat on the side, we will get a recording of this to have the whole without the technical issues, because there's very, very interesting things that you guys are doing and talking about that can expand past Africa and learnings how we can deal with children and local needs. So thank you very much. Looking forward to talk to you both soon.
Take care. Bye, everyone.